This is episode 6 with Jessica Allossery.
Welcome to the Quarter Life Comeback Podcast, the show that empowers you to become the hero of your life's journey. With your host, Brian Tier.
Hello guys and girls, and welcome to another episode of the Quarter Life Comeback Podcast, episode 6 today, and I'm super excited to be interviewing Jessica Allossery for the show. Now, if you're anything like me, you love a little YouTube session now and then, and some of my favorite videos are the indie musicians who cover some of today's most popular songs. Today's guest, Jessica, was no different. However, after being inspired by some of these musicians, she decided to teach herself how to play the guitar. And starting 9 years ago, she started putting up her own videos on YouTube. Fast forward today, and Jess has over 10,000 subscribers on the most popular social media platforms, 30,000 YouTube subscribers, millions of views on her videos, and she's turned what started out as a little hobby in her room to basically a full-time career. And we get into how she went about doing so in the interview. In this episode, we cover how Jess first discovered music, the power of consistency and momentum, why you don't need to have it all figured out before getting started, the danger of expectations, tips for building a loyal fan base, and the 3 biggest things she's learned along her own journey. As always, you can catch the full show notes with all the links and resources we mentioned at briantier.com/006. But for now, let's go hang out with Jess. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Quarter Life Comeback, and I'm really excited to be chatting to a new friend of mine who I met at the Vipassana course I recently attended, and it's Jessica. Jessica, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Brian. Thank you so much for having me.
Cool. No, it's a pleasure having you on. So obviously with Vipassana, we didn't get to speak a lot during the course. For those of you who don't know, it's 10 days with no talking or interacting at all, especially with people from the opposite sex. So basically on the 11th or 12th day, people go mad, like meeting each other. And I met Jessica and didn't really know what she did, and then got home, saw an email from her trying to meet up with everyone before she went back home, and followed her website, and I was really pleasantly surprised at this amazing person that I had met. And I'll get more into that later. But why don't you start by telling people sort of how you grew up and a bit about your background and that sort of thing?
So I'm from Canada, and I'm from a little farming community called Chatham, Ontario. And I grew up on the farm. It's an agricultural farm, so we sold things like corn and tomatoes and cucumbers, tons of veggies and fruits. And my dad also farms tobacco. So I grew up very much working hard as a kid. And my parents didn't hold back giving us chores and things like that on the farm. And that was my childhood. Pretty simple, just farm working and going to school and doing what kids do. Moving on to high school, after high school, I decided that I really wanted to travel and see the world. And this thing came up called Rotary. I'm not sure. Do you know what Rotary is?
Yep.
Yeah, so Rotary Exchange. So it's like an exchange program for young kids, like under the age of 18, I believe. And so I was 17, and I thought, I'd love to try this. And I enrolled. And a year later, I was in Brazil on a 1-year exchange program. And I had 3 host families there, and I went to school there, like a high school there. And it changed my life, so much, just that 1 year, because I was away from home for the first time. And I remember the first 3 months I was so miserable because I couldn't speak the language. I didn't know Portuguese. I couldn't communicate with my host families. I was shy, and I was just and I missed home. But after the 3 months when I actually started learning the language and started making friends, then I found my way, and then I didn't actually want to go home after that. I didn't want to go. So yeah, so then I met a ton of people. I met a ton of international people from all over the world, also exchange students, and kept in touch with them and continued on my journey. I came back home from Brazil and decided that I should probably, go to college at some point because, that's what we are told we must do.
Yep.
So I quickly decided I think I want to do filmmaking. And I enrolled within 2 weeks. I was studying in filmmaking, and I did that for 3 years. And within those 3 years, on the first year, because I enrolled a little bit late, I didn't have very many friends in school because everybody kind of knew each other, and I was just a little bit shy. So I kind of like stuck to myself. And I would go to school, and then I'd come home, and I didn't have much to do. So I watched a lot of YouTube videos. Like, that was kind of what I did for the first year. And I was so inspired by a few cover artists that I stumbled upon on YouTube covering songs. And they were just singer-songwriter style, acoustic guitar. And I was so inspired, and I'm like, okay, I want to try this. I want to see if I can teach myself guitar. So I asked my mom to bring me the guitar from home that we never used, with her to bring to me for my school and to see if I can just kind of like learn myself. And she did. And within a month, I was already starting to play guitar and a few songs here and there. And I actually left up on YouTube my very first video that I did within that first month. Yeah. And it's terrible.
Is it still up?
It's still up.
Cool. I'll have to link to it.
Yeah. I purposely left it up so that people can see how you can grow as an artist, even if you don't have formal training. Because I never took guitar lessons. I never took singing lessons. But I just, I was persistent with it, and I was very passionate. So I played like 3 hours every night, and I was really excited. And every month I would post a video, and every month I got a little bit better. And that brings me to today, where I have almost 6 million views and like 30,000 subscribers on YouTube and 15,000 followers on Facebook and 10,000 followers on Twitter. It's insane. And
yeah, it's crazy.
So thankful. Like, it just it was all happening, as it should, as life unfolds. And I'm really proud of that. And I'm really happy with where I am in this moment.
I love that the guitar was kind of standing at home. No one used it. It was kind of like almost like an omen, like it was going to come up somehow. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. Well, my parents bought it for me and my 2 sisters as a Christmas gift, but we couldn't actually afford lessons. So it just sat in the house, like just sitting there doing nothing. And then as soon as I got to school, we actually had like fast internet, whereas at home we didn't have fast internet. We still had dial-up. So as soon as I got to school, I was just like blown away by all the YouTube videos I could watch, and my whole world opened. And then I thought, yeah, I think I would love to try this. So yeah, it happened.
I just want to go back to something quickly. When I'm growing up on the farm, and then deciding to go on an exchange, what was the reaction from your family, and in particular your parents, when you told them that's what you wanted to do?
Well, they were very supportive, and I mean, they did take us on a couple family vacations before that, and like I really took to them. Like, we went to Cuba and the Dominican Republic and Florida, and I loved it so much. Like, traveling and seeing new things was such an important part of life for me. And I think they noticed that. And so when I told them about this, I think they weren't shocked. I mean, because I'm always kind of out there in regards to my family. I always kind of did things a little bit different. And so they were supportive. And of course, like when I left, they really missed me. and they were sad to see me go because I was the youngest. Or I am the youngest, so it was like, their baby was flying the nest. But they, they know that they can't hold me back from experiences, because that's what's going to help me grow. And so they let me go, and with their support and gracefully, just kind of let me do my thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so I just want to get into now. So you were doing filmmaking, you started doing the YouTube stuff. Where were you at the time? So let's say you've graduated now, it's 3 years later. Where were you in your sort of YouTube guitar career stage by the time you'd graduated?
Actually, funny enough, just before I graduated, a year before I graduated, I made my first album EP, 4-song EP. And I did that by connecting with the music arts people in my school. And there was some sort of project that they had to do in their class. And one guy we had met, and he said, I want to use your songs as my project. Can I do that? And so I said, sure. So we got into the studio, and I recorded 4 of my songs. One of them is Change the World. And I would say less than a year later, just before I graduated, my song Change the World was picked up by a huge telecommunications company in Canada, where it was placed on commercials on TV and in the movie theater and on planes, and basically my song was everywhere in Canada. And it was crazy weird and amazing. They flew me across Canada several times to record it and to be, to do interviews and stuff like that. And so it kind of gave me a short little 10 seconds of fame. But then at that moment, I realized I could actually potentially do this for the rest of my life, whereas before I didn't really think it was possible. So, after that kind of really quick success, it just kind of it put me into gear even more, and I was ready after school. I was kind of really ready to keep pushing forward with my music and investing in my art, in my songs, in myself, to try to make this a real thing.
Yeah, so that song pretty much changed your world.
It did. It really did. Yes. And the funny thing is, I wrote it on a very cloudy, rainy day back home in Canada. And I was coming home from school, and I was just bummed that day. I don't know why. I was just bummed out. And I came home, and I thought, maybe the guitar will cheer me up. And I sat on my bed, and I wrote it in about 15 minutes.
No way.
And I didn't change a single word. I didn't rewrite it. I wrote it in 15 minutes, and then that was it. And it's still, to this day, it's my most popular song.
That's insane. I think I saw the original. Was it with your cat? And yeah.
Yes, that was actually before I recorded it in the studio. So that was really, really early on. But yeah, that was the one. And then ever since, it's been in commercials all over the world as well. The most recent one was in London, England, and for Rolls-Royce. They wanted to use it for the company, and they flew me to the UK, and I got to actually be in the commercial. It was amazing. We were in the airport, and they were blaring my song and filming me, and it felt like fame. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna link to all these videos. I've seen a lot of them myself, but I want people to check it out. They're really, really cool.
Wow.
Now, something that I wanted to ask you, and it's kind of linked to what you said earlier about leaving that very first video up to inspire people and show them that everyone starts somewhere, and I love that. And what I want to ask is, a lot of people would have, and still do the same thing you did, watch hours of YouTube videos and see things that inspire them. But that's all it really stays at. It's just, this is really cool, but I could never do that. Or these people have a platform, and she's already got 30,000 subscribers. What would you say to people who are considering something like that, but they just have a little bit of fear or something holding them back? Like, how do you find the courage to actually take that next step?
Um, I think if you love it enough, the fear won't hold you back. Like, because it's all new and it's all exciting, and you can't let your fear hold you back. It's just, I mean, if everybody in the world said, "Oh, but I can't do it because of this or whatever," then we wouldn't have musicians, then we wouldn't have art, we wouldn't have anything in the world. I mean, it's so cheesy, but you can do anything. And I'm not joking, like there are limitless resources for us available, especially today with the internet. We can learn anything. We can access, things from across the world for tools and learning. And it's a beautiful thing. And so we're in a really cool time where anything is available to us. And if you're just putting restrictions on yourself, I mean, just don't do that because it's just an excuse to yourself. So, I mean, if you really love something enough and you believe in yourself, and you do it for yourself, not for any other reason, you don't do it for the money, you don't do it for the fame, you do it for yourself because you love it, then I think everything will fall into place.
Yeah, I love that. I was gonna say, like, when you started, you didn't have these plans of being flown to London, or you just shared one video a month and you just did it because it was something you enjoyed. You never saw it as like a career until it started becoming more popular.
I had absolutely no idea where I would be, 9 years later. And I don't know where I'll be in 9 years, but that first video that's up, it's by Iron and Wine, and I put it up, not expecting anything on YouTube. I just put it up there because I just felt the need to put it out for the world. And I woke up the next day and there was 19 views, and I was in shock. I couldn't believe that 19 people actually watched my video. I was really excited. Like I was, honestly, I couldn't believe it. And from that day, I was just hooked. I'm like, you know what? Like 19 people. And that's such a small amount of people. But for me at the time, it was like, it was the world that people actually were sitting through this video and giving me their attention. So, you can't have like really high expectations for yourself because you just don't know where it might go. So just do it for your passion, do it because you love it. And as I said, I mean, I think the rest kind of falls into place.
Yeah, and I think one of your videos, I think it's the Coldplay Fixie video, has like over 2 million views now, which I can't imagine how that must feel.
That's the scientist, actually.
Yeah, the scientist, yeah, sorry.
Even now, I mean, that video I did in 2012, I think, or 2011. And it's still my biggest video to date. Like, I still get the most views on that one. And the comments are really beautiful. People say, like, this song has really helped me to get through a relationship or a tough time in my life. Like, it keeps me going. It, people put it on repeat. So the fact that I can do something that I love and that it is affecting others in a good way is really rewarding as well.
If someone's listening to this and they really like YouTube as a platform, and they're wanting to get into it, do you have any like YouTube tips for people? I know if eventually at some stage want to get into more video stuff myself, but if someone's listening and they're wanting to get into YouTube, do you have any like YouTube tips for people?
Yeah, I do. And this kind of goes for social media in general. Because for me in the beginning, as I started getting traction as an artist, as a musical artist, I thought that the right thing to do was to distance myself from my fans. So they would send me messages and they would type comments on my pictures and on my videos, and I didn't respond. I would read them all, but I would never respond because the big artists don't respond, So I'm like, okay, well, I have to put myself on a pedestal, But don't do that. That's so bad. Like I've realized that, your fans are everything. And now, I respond to every single email. I respond to every single message, every single comment on my channel. At least I try. I try to do my best. And the relationship the relationships that I'm building with my fans are really special, because I'm realizing, there are super fans out there that it doesn't matter what you do or what happens in your life, they will support you because they've become your friend. They've really they support you in every single way. And the fact that I can reach out to these people and talk to them about my art and get feedback and just in general get support whenever I need it, it's there at my fingertips. And that's because I've been building this now for 9 years, and it took me a few years to realize, like, distancing myself or not making time for them is the worst mistake you can ever do, because they are your business. They are your record label. They're the ones that will decide if they, want to buy your music. So, and it's also it's not even just about buying music. It's just the support in general, like it's, yeah. So I'm kind of getting off track, but like my biggest thing would be listen to your fans, and talk to them, and don't put yourself on a pedestal, because you are just like them, you're just like everyone else. And they want to know that, like, they want to know that you're a real human being. So if you can talk to them and be, make a community for yourself, that is the most important thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I've seen the importance of that, and I've checked out your Patreon page, and which is another amazing invention of our time. But your Patreon page and even your blog, and it's just so authentic, and it just feels like you're having a one-on-one conversation with a reader, which is really, really cool. And it's obviously, the fans obviously love it. I want to sort of do a big bird's eye view from the days on the farm till now. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned in your journey?
Oh man, that's a big question.
Well, let's make it simpler. Sort of the three biggest things you've learned along the way.
Okay. The three biggest things. Okay. One of them is no expectations, because when you start having expectations, there's a risk of being disappointed. And that has happened to me a lot of times along the way. So, it does take time to train your mind to not have expectations and just accept what is happening. But, and don't get me wrong, you can still dream, like, still have your dreams, have your goals, be excited, but don't expect high results, because you really don't know what's going to happen. And you can't be holding on to this idea that it's going to be an overnight thing. It takes time to build. So one of the biggest things for me that I'm still learning to this day is to not have expectations with what it is you're doing, whether it's music or a new business or your career or anything in life, really. Just don't have expectations. The second thing I would say is to remember that your journey is a process. Your success is not going to come overnight. It's going to take time and a lot of work and a lot of passion. When I was starting out doing music, I was really excited at first, and I did it all for myself. And then I kind of, in a couple of years, got really arrogant and snobby about it. And I separated myself from my fans, and I wanted to be famous. I wanted to have $1 million and be flying across the world doing huge shows. And when I look back, it's really quite sad that in that moment, I wanted that because I thought that that would be what success is. It's not at all. Like, I mean, I've grown out of that phase and I've realized like success starts at the bottom and you build it up. And it's not going to be an overnight thing because that is not a sustainable success. That is, I would say that's a dangerous, really kind of quick success that might not potentially last because you haven't built something up for yourself.
Mm.
So, yeah, number 2 would be to know that it takes time, it's a process, and to remember that your success building starts from the bottom and, and you just keep going one day at a time. And number 3 as a life lesson.
I know I saw on your website, which I'll link to, you mentioned growing up on the farm and how it wasn't great, selling corn on the side of the road, but it taught you hard work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did. It really did. It was, I hated it. Actually. I despised my parents for making me do all this work, but it instilled a good work ethic in me. Which is very important. And you know what? Actually, yeah, I know. For the 3rd lesson, I would say take every opportunity that comes your way, whether it is going out with a friend and meeting new people, whether you are, driving on the side of the road and somebody needs help. There are so many opportunities that present themselves to us every single day, and we don't notice them because we're in our own worlds and we're rushing and we have so much stuff to do. But you really have no idea how a new person that you meet might help you out and how you can help them out. And then you start realizing that the world is like a circle and we're all connected. And again, I know this is sounding cheesy, but it's true. You would be amazed to know the things that will come out of you saying yes to everything, even when you don't want to, even if you're tired or even if you're busy. If an opportunity comes up, say yes and be in the moment and give your all, because things can come out of that for your career, for your life. It's an incredible awareness to bring into life with you. So, for the 3rd thing, I would say take every opportunity that comes your way.
Yeah, I had a mentor of mine who I'll never forget these words. He said, "You never know who's in the audience." And what he meant was there could be someone like whose skills you're looking for or who could be the next step towards what you're working towards right in front of you, but you may not realize it until you really connect with people. And
Exactly. So, and of course, I've heard, myself included, but I've met other artists where, it's devastating when you you spend so much time trying to organize a show. And when you get there, there's 5 people in the audience. So then you're like, and you just, you're in a bad mood and it's just, but the thing is, there's still 5 people there that showed up to see you. So you can't be in a bad mood. You can't be upset that there's not enough people because there's still 5 people there that showed up to have a good time, to give you their time. And whether it's 5 people or 1,000 people watching you as an artist, each and every one is still important. So the number doesn't matter. It's to make sure that everyone is having a good time and that you're treating everybody with respect. And just like you said, I mean, you don't know who those 5 people could be. You don't know who could be in an audience of 1,000 people, but you can't you can't pass up those opportunities and be upset about them if they didn't turn out the way that you thought it would be, because in the end, it might actually work out better for you. So.
Awesome. Jessica, I do want to be mindful of the time. But I mean, what's next for you? What are some goals you'd like to achieve I know without setting expectations too high, but I mean, what's on the radar for you?
Well, I can set attainable goals. So, I'm working on a new album this year, and it's definitely going to be different than the other two that I have. Just because my journey's been a little bit rocky the last few months, and I want to share that through my art, and I want to be honest with myself and my fans. So I'm working on an album that's going to be different. It's going to be more mellow. It's going to be more deep and more emotional. But I'm really excited about it, and so definitely I've already started to write that, and I want to produce that, perhaps do a Kickstarter campaign to help me to produce it. And then, I mean, I don't have plans as of yet, but I would like to take it on tour, whether it is in North America or Brazil again or Germany again. But I do want to just kind of start taking the new album on the road with me. So that's kind of, I mean, not huge goals, just kind of like that is what I would like to do this year. And so I'm just working towards it.
I love it. So you mentioned a possible Kickstarter campaign. Before I get on to the final question, how can people find out more about your work and get hold of you, stay in touch with you, and that sort of thing?
I'm really good on Facebook, I must say, especially with interacting with my fans and stuff like that. So find me on Facebook. So it's Jessica Allossery Music, JESSICAALLOSSERY Music. I know it's a tough one. It's a tough name, but anyway.
We'll link to it all in the show notes, so don't worry about that.
And then my blog as well. If you sign up for my blog, I do have, I'm always putting up indie musician tips and also just kind of talking about my life here and there and the life of an artist. So if you join my blog, I would be so excited, and you can email me there and all that stuff. And my blog is thelovelyindie.com. So www.thelovelyindie.com. And then, and then obviously I have YouTube and Twitter and all that stuff. They're all kind of, and Instagram as well. Wherever you yourself like being on the most, whether you like Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, just find me there and we can get chatting.
Yeah, and we'll link to everything that we mentioned today in the show notes, which you guys listening can find at briantier.com/006. Jessica, before I get on to the final question, I just want to acknowledge you for staying true to who you really are and committing to doing what you love and sharing your gift with the world. I think it's so easy to slip back into like the way we should do things or that sort of thing. But
yeah, well, you know what? I think we're all supporting ourselves, and I wouldn't be here, doing my thing if it wasn't for people like you or for our listeners who give their time to also support. So I also thank you, and I thank everyone who's listening today.
Cool. Thanks very much. And final question. What one thing can listeners do this week if they want to start creating a quarter life comeback?
Well, if they want to start something,
yep.
Start it. just start it.
Just get started.
And the thing is, like, when you're starting something that you think that could be like a really big thing, it gets almost quite scary and daunting at times to just be like, okay, I have to just start this now. But you realize once you start it, like starting it is the hardest part, actually. Because once you start it and you get your momentum going, it becomes familiar with you and it's easy. So whether you are, want to write a song, or whether you are starting a business and you want to start brainstorming, or you're a writer and you want to start writing a novel, take an hour today and start step one. And just kind of get that part over with. And you'll just find that once you really dedicate an hour a day or an hour, whenever you can. I mean, don't make it a chore, but try to set some time every couple of days to do that and only that, and dedicate yourself to your craft, to your passion, and things will start following suit.
I love it. Jessica, thanks so much and have an amazing day.
Thank you so much, Brian. We'll chat soon.
Definitely. Bye.
Bye.
There you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed talking to Jessica, and I can't wait to see where she takes her career going forward. If you're on a similar path, working hard to make things happen, I'd love to hear some of your personal takeaways from the show by tweeting me at Brian Teare. That's BryanTeare. Otherwise, if you have a friend you think would benefit, make sure you share it along. As always, full show notes will be at brianteare.com/006. And if you like this show and want to subscribe to get new episodes as soon as they come out, you can subscribe and rate and leave a review on iTunes. I would really appreciate that. And you can find exactly how to do that at brianteare.com/iTunes. Till next time, guys, keep creating your quarter life comeback.
Thanks for listening to the Quarter Life Comeback. Get started today by visiting brianteare.com.